Hello everyone. In the last video, we have already discussed when to use precision, when to use recall, and when to use F1-score. I hope it is clear for everyone. And then you need to have another doubt. Okay. So let's go through that today. If we see the definition of precision, so here I'm saying out of all predicted positives, how many are correctly predicted, right? So here I am emphasizing on positives. And similarly, in case of recall, out of all actual positives, how many are correctly predicted? Now the doubt for you should be like, we are only considering positive class, right? And what about negative class? So we are not considering that. So when we'll consider negative class should be your doubt. Now let's discuss about negative class as well. Whatever that we have discussed in the previous few videos, all those are related to only positive class. So this precision that we have discussed till now is only related to positive class, and similarly the recall that we have discussed till now is only related to positive class, and similarly F1 score is also only related to positive class. Now in order to calculate the same metrics on negative class as well, we are having three more other terms. Those are precision for negative class, and recall for negative class, and F1 score for negative class. Now let's try to see how these formulas will change. So we know what are the formulas for this particular precision positive class, and recall positive class, and F1 score positive class, right? Now let's see how our precision negative class will look like, and recall negative class will look like, and F1 score negative class will be looking like. We already know that precision positive class is out of all predicted positives, how many are correctly predicted, right? But now for negative class, how it will change? It's really simple. Out of all predicted negatives, so previously we are having positive, instead of positives we will be having negatives over here. So out of all predicted negatives, how many are correctly predicted? And similarly, how will this particular representation of precision will change? So here in denominator we are having predicted positives, right, previously. Now it will be changed with predicted negatives. In denominator I will be having predicted negatives, and out of all these predicted negatives, how many are correctly predicted? Let's try to see how we will be getting this particular formula right now. We know how we calculated predicted positive, right? So in the similar fashion, let's try to write down the formula for predicted negatives. So in the denominator, we will be having predicted negatives, right? So those we can observe by checking this particular table. So how can we get these predicted negatives? So wherever in this particular predicted column there is 0, those will be representing my predicted negatives, right? So here if you observe, this particular true negative will be signifying about predicted negatives, and also this false negative will also be signifying about predicted negatives. So in the denominator we'll be having true negative plus false negative for precision negative, okay? And out of these, how many are correctly predicted points? Tn or Fn? So basically Tn are the correctly specified points, right? So in the numerator we'll be having Tn. So this will be the precision formula for negative class, and similarly in the recall also we'll be having the similar changes. So let's try to observe the changes within recall. So previously, what is our recall positive definition? Out of all actual positives, how many are correctly predicted? Now it will change in this way. Out of all actual negatives, okay, how many are correctly predicted? And here also it will be out of all actual negatives, how many are correctly predicted? Okay, so in denominator we'll be having actual negatives, and in numerator we'll be having correctly predicted points. Now similarly, in the similar fashion, let's try to understand how this formula will be getting, and how we'll be getting all of these actual negatives. Let's try to observe the table. In table, what we need to observe, in this particular actual column, wherever it is 0, that will be representing about actual negatives, right? So here if you observe, here it is 0, so true negatives are representing the actual negatives, and also here it is representing 0. That means false positives are also representing the actual negatives. So in denominator we will be having true negative plus false positive, and out of these, how many will be my correctly classified points? Out of these two, we are having Tn as my correctly classified points. So this will be my formula for recall negative class. Here we can't call this as true positive rate. So this is true negative rate. So previously we called it as true positive rate for recall positive. Now it will be called as true negative rate. So this is our precision negative and the recall negative. And how the F1 score will get calculated? Previously, this F1 score is for positive class. So these precision recall, whatever we are seeing, are for positive classes only. So precision positive plus recall positive by two times will be there. Okay, two times precision positive plus recall positive by precision positive plus recall positive. So this will be my F1 score formula in case of positive classes, whereas in case of negative class, how my formula will change? It's simply instead of these positive precision and positive recall, we'll be using negative precision and negative recall. So it will be P negative into R negative by P negative plus R negative. Okay. So I hope it is clear for everyone how this particular F1 score precision recall are calculated for both the classes. So basically accuracy is a metric which is used commonly for both positive and negative classes, whereas precision recall and F1 score are separate for each and every class. So here we have seen only in binary classification problem. So that's why we are only able to see two classes of precision and recall. If you are having 10 classes in the classification problem, then you will be having 10 precision and 10 recall and 10 F1 scores. Okay. So I hope this is clear for everyone. If you have any other doubts, please comment down in the comment section. Okay. So thank you everyone. Bye bye.